It's Larry Bird in Ghost Pilots for the SNK NeoGeo CD. I don't think that's actually Larry Bird, but what would be cool, since this is a two-player game, is if the second player was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Larry Bird taking on enemies with airplanes. Alright, let's check out the background. We have trees and running water. This is on the Neo Geo? Well, this is not a very exciting game visually. In fact, it looks a lot like an early Sega Genesis release, but this is an extremely fun game. It reminds me a lot of Fire Shark and Truxton on the Genesis. It even kind of looks like Fire Shark. Ghost Pilots is not one of the most sought-after Neo Geo CD games, so it will not cost you anywhere near as much to collect as Pulse Star or Last Resort, and in many ways I actually enjoy this game more than some of the other more high-profile shooters. It's extremely fun. With the exception of a few jerky scenes every now and then when an end boss appears, the gameplay is extremely smooth, there's no slowdown, and you're not being repetitively stopped by loading times. You fire up Ghost Pilots and go to work. It's a very straightforward, two-dimensional, top-down, vertical scrolling shooter. The speed of your aircraft remains consistent, and it relies on you actually shooting your enemies and dodging their attack patterns because it doesn't have a lot of ridiculous weapon power-ups. There's no lightning bolts or fire that flies all over the screen or homing missiles. You power up your main gun, but this is a fairly traditional, old-school shooter, which will definitely appeal to people who enjoy some of the games on the Genesis, like Fire Shark. There's two different kinds of Super Bomb power-ups that you can select at the beginning of the game. I like this one because you can drop it on an enemy and then hide behind it and shoot them while it's exploding. There's another one available later in the game which you'll see momentarily. There's not a whole lot in Ghost Pilots that you have not seen before in other shooters, if you've played other shooters. This has a copyright of 1991, and this is a Japanese release that I'm playing, which will work on a Western Neo Geo CD. Even though this has an affordable price tag for Neo Geo games, it will still cost you 20 or 30 times as much as Fire Shark. But I assure you, this game is ridiculously addictive. You can also play two-player on-screen at once. You have to shoot all of the red airplanes in order to get your weapon power-ups and additional bombs, and they do make it much harder after the first level or two. While you're not punished without mercy when you explode in this game, it does take away your weapon power-ups, leaving you with just a standard twin shot, which you can survive with. You're much better off not getting blown up at all, but you can say that for pretty much any shooter. Scoring is pretty traditional. In fact, most things in this game are traditional, and that's what makes it good. It's easy to jump in and play, and it's challenging because you're not just dodging enemy bullets. It's not a bullet hell shooter. What you're really concentrating on doing in this game is dodging the erratic enemy attack patterns. These planes come flying at you from all directions. There's tanks and gun turrets and boats on the ground shooting at you. And your job is to blow them all up. I'm sure there's a story to this game, but I can't read it because it's in Japanese. That guy went down pretty easy for a mid-level boss. And here's another thing that reminds me of Fire Shark. It takes a pit stop here after each level. Racks up some bonus points for you. I can't say too much more about this game other than the fact that if you like some of the older shooters, like I've mentioned, Fire Shark, Truxton, even the 1942-1943 series, you might want to give this one a try if you have a Neo Geo or if you're contemplating getting one. Visually, it actually looks better than it does here. The Neo Geo CD is quite difficult to record from. It's like the Sega Genesis. It hates all professional recording equipment, which forces me to go to VCR. Trusty VHS tapes still have a use at Classic Game Room. As you progress through the levels, you definitely have to keep an eye on your rear view mirror for these airplanes coming at you from behind. They are cheap bastards. Hey, look down below. There's an airplane crashed in the water. They gave you a little something to look at in this game. It's not entirely drab and somewhat boring visually. Well, yeah, it kind of is. Damn it, another one of those airplanes snuck up on me from behind. Like many other shooters, you can continue and just practice the later levels and just keep playing through the game. It has 4 different difficulty settings, and while this is nowhere near as cheap and affordable as some of the older Sega Genesis cartridges, Ghost Pilots is a fairly good bargain, at least for the Neo Geo. It's not a game that you're going to find readily, so eBay is really your best bet, and as I mentioned, you can get the Japanese release. If you like good, straightforward, fun, challenging shooters that can also be played with 2 players on screen at the same time, Ghost Pilots is a fun game to look for.